When you think about gambling addiction, you might picture someone sitting at a slot machine, desperately pulling the lever, or someone at a poker table making risky bets with all their money on the line. It's an image that reflects a common misconception that gambling is just about money, luck, and entertainment. But there's a darker side to gambling, one that goes beyond the obvious consequences like financial ruin or strained relationships. In fact, gambling addiction can seriously affect your brain and intelligence in ways you might not expect. Let's dive into the science behind how this addiction can make you, quite literally, less smart. Gambling addiction is a psychological disorder that affects millions of people worldwide. And while it might look like just a bad habit or an obsession with winning, the science behind it shows something deeper. When a person becomes addicted to gambling, their brain undergoes significant changes. These changes can affect how they think, process information, make decisions, and even their ability to focus. You might wonder, how does something like this affect your brain in a way that makes you less intelligent? It all starts with the brain's reward system, the same system that governs our feelings of pleasure and satisfaction. When you gamble, your brain releases dopamine, the feel-good neurotransmitter. This is the same chemical that gets released when you eat your favorite food, have sex, or achieve something rewarding. In the beginning, gambling might feel like a rush, a quick high that feels satisfying. However, as you continue to gamble, your brain becomes conditioned to expect that high. It starts craving it more and more, which leads you to gamble even when it's not a good idea. Here's the thing, dopamine in excess can actually impair your ability to think critically. In a study conducted by scientists, it was found that gambling addiction changes the brain's prefrontal cortex, which is responsible for decision-making, planning, and self-control. When this part of your brain is hijacked by the constant surge of dopamine, you start losing your ability to think rationally. This is why gamblers often make poor decisions, even when they know the odds are stacked against them. They'll continue betting large amounts of money despite losing, all in the hope of recapturing that rush. But it's not just the lack of self-control, it's also the diminished cognitive ability to evaluate risk. Another critical aspect is the impact gambling addiction has on memory. Chronic gamblers have been shown to have impaired working memory, which is the kind of memory we rely on for short-term tasks, like keeping track of our to-do lists or solving problems. This kind of memory is vital for everyday functions. Yet gambling addiction can make it harder to remember important details and focus on tasks that require clear thinking. When you're consumed by the addiction, your brain's ability to prioritize and handle information becomes seriously impaired. In the long term, this contributes to cognitive decline. Addiction doesn't just take a toll on your brain, it also messes with your emotional and social well-being. People who are addicted to gambling often become isolated. They may stop seeing friends or family, and they may feel embarrassed or ashamed of their behavior. This social isolation can have a cascading effect on your cognitive abilities. Social interactions and emotional support are important for brain health. Without them, you may experience heightened levels of stress and anxiety, both of which can affect your ability to think clearly. The relationship between gambling and impaired intelligence is further complicated by the financial strain it places on an individual. As a person becomes more deeply involved in gambling, the financial losses can mount quickly, leading to a sense of hopelessness and despair. In turn, this stress contributes to cognitive overload. You're so preoccupied with figuring out how to recover your losses that it becomes increasingly difficult to make sound decisions or think in a balanced way. What's even more alarming is that research has shown that gambling addiction often overlaps with other forms of substance abuse. People who struggle with gambling may also be more likely to abuse alcohol or drugs. Substance abuse, of course, adds another layer of cognitive damage, further compounding the mental effects of gambling addiction. The combination of gambling, drugs, and alcohol leads to even more significant impairments in reasoning, memory, and impulse control. So, how can we break the cycle? The key to recovery is understanding that gambling addiction isn't just a matter of poor decisions. It's a neurological condition that alters the way your brain functions. Effective treatments like cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, focus on helping the brain heal by reestablishing healthy patterns of thinking and decision-making. Over time, with proper treatment, you can restore your brain's ability to think critically and make better choices. Gambling addiction is not just a personal failing. It's a serious mental health condition that can wreak havoc on your cognitive abilities. From impaired decision-making to memory loss and emotional distress, gambling addiction chips away at the very faculties that make us smart and capable. If you or someone you know is struggling with gambling, it's important to seek help before it takes a lasting toll on the brain. So, the next time you think about the risks of gambling, remember that it's not just about losing money. It's about the brain and how this addiction can slowly but surely diminish your ability to think, reason, and act wisely. In the end, the true cost of gambling isn't just financial, it's intellectual. And that's a price no one should have to pay.